Hey everyone, Marcelle here. Y'all, welcome back to my kitchen. Today's video is going to be a little bit different from the typical one recipe videos I share here. Today I'm going to be sharing 3 recipes that are special because I would share them on special occasions such as the holidays. Now, these are easy recipes that are really, really delicious. And honestly, I would make them, just on Wednesday night for no reason because they're easy and delicious. But these recipes are special because they are always in like the top 10 list of recipes I do consider sharing when special occasions pop up, okay? So we're gonna start off with an easy, delicious appetizer, and then we're gonna move on to a delicious, really Southern inspired side dish, and then we're gonna move on to a delicious family classic dessert. That was actually one of my dad's favorite holiday desserts, so I'm very excited to share that with you here. We're gonna start off, of course, with an appetizer, and I wish I could take full credit for this appetizer, but I can't. The appetizer is Texas cream cheese queso, and this is actually a recipe that I learned about from another YouTuber. She's one of my favorite YouTubers. Her name's Cindy, and her channel's name is Kissy Cat, and she shared this recipe, I want to say about 2 years ago, and ever since I saw her make it, I just knew it was going to be good, and it's not good, it's great. Okay, I've made this appetizer, this really simple 3-ingredient appetizer, millions of times at this point for my family. We love it, and it's very Texas and perfect for the holidays or for game day. But anyway, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to share this wonderful recipe for cream cheese queso, and then stick around for the other 2 recipes. Let's get started. Okay, everybody, so here are the very simple ingredients we need to make this 3-ingredient cream cheese sausage queso. This stuff is so good, you guys. It is literally my favorite way to make queso lately. I make this so often. But okay, we're gonna need a whole brick of cream cheese. I've got reduced fat cream cheese here today. You can use whatever your favorite brand is, or a full fat. We're going to use the whole brick, okay? Also, you're going to need a pound of your favorite pork or turkey breakfast sausage. Guys, I do make homemade sausage like super often. It's more the norm than it isn't these days, but recently H-E-B had these rolls of sausage on sale, and honestly, they were cheaper than just plain ground meat. So I picked a few of them up because it's a good deal. But we are going to use the whole pound of meat. Get breakfast sausage, your favorite kind. All right, and then we're going to need some salsa. Okay, here I have the H-E-B brand medium picante sauce. You don't have to get the most expensive salsa they have on the shelf. You can just do very basic salsa, but H-E-B salsa is actually very good. And we're going to need about 1.5 cups of it. So I'm going with the solid medium heat here. You can do mild, you can do hot, you can do extra super duper hot. You know your family, you know your friends, you know what works for y'all. So, all right, but that's it, okay? 3 stars of this show. I am preparing this in an electric skillet today because after I get this all mixed up, I'm gonna put the electric skillet down to warm, and it will keep it nice and melty for us while we're enjoying it, okay? So it's set on medium heat now, and first things first, we're gonna get our sausage in the skillet and browned. Okay, y'all, so our sausage is nice and brown, and so what I'm gonna do now is just kind of everything in from this point. I've got that brick of cream cheese I talked about, and I've just cut it into smaller squares. I don't know, I always feel like it might help it melt better. When we make queso with Velveeta, we do the same thing. We chop the cheese, put the cheese in cubes. All right, and so next thing, I'm gonna go in with the salsa. We're gonna go ahead and put 1.5 cups. Okay, so now we've got all 3 ingredients in the hot skillet. We just need to keep this mixture moving long enough for the cream cheese to melt and keep stirring until all these ingredients are very well incorporated. Okay, y'all, so after just a couple of minutes of cooking, I'm already turning the heat down to warm. This delicious cream cheese queso is ready to serve. It's flavorful, delicious, and fast, and it's hard to beat. Okay, y'all, so for our super flavorful, sweet and spicy succotash with maple and bacon, here is how I do it, okay? So we're gonna be starting off with some olive oil or, you know, some other neutral oil of your choice. I actually typically, through the years, have used bacon drippings for this, but I'm no longer eating a whole lot of regular bacon, so we're using olive oil and 4 slices of diced up turkey bacon right here. 1/3 cup of a sweet yellow onion. I've got 3 cups here, or 2 cans of corn that I drained. I didn't rinse it, but I drained them. You can use 3 cups of whatever type of corn you prefer, okay? You can do frozen corn that's completely thawed, or corn, you know, that you scrape right off the cob. Now here I have a 1.5 cups of baby lima beans that I cooked last night according to package directions. You are going to have to cook them, boil them in some salted water for about 20 minutes and then drain them. And from this point, you know, we're going to be putting our cooked lima beans into our succotash mix here, and that's it. That is the whole, you know, bulk of the recipe. Now spice wise, of course, we're going to need some salt, some pepper. That's what this in this little cellar here. You're going to need some smoked paprika, a little dash of cayenne pepper, and some pure maple syrup, okay? It's delicious, guys. So we're gonna go ahead and move to the stovetop, get started. We make this, warm this all up and get it going in a skillet. I'll meet you over there. Okay, so I've got a really large skillet here that's been heating up kind of over medium heat. So I'm gonna go ahead and go in with a couple tablespoons of olive oil. And like I said, traditionally through the years I've made this with bacon grease, and so this is where I would obviously heat up some reserved bacon drippings. And then it's just everything in, okay? We're gonna go ahead and put the corn. Put the lima beans. Doesn't get much more southern than lima beans. All right, and then the fresh onions. Give it a nice stir. Okay, so we're just gonna let this cook. Just gonna kind of saute it for about 4 minutes until those onions are translucent and the rest of the veggies are heated through. Okay, so it's been about 3 minutes. I'm gonna go ahead and put my turkey bacon bits in and let them start warming up. Okay, y'all, so our succotash is smelling fantastic up in here, and you know, as you saw, everything was cooked and ready to go. So except for the onion, of course, which just takes a few minutes to become translucent and cook. So we just needed everything to heat up and all the flavors to mingle for a little bit. But otherwise it's done. We just need to spice it up a little bit. So in here I have a 1/4 teaspoon of table salt, a 1/4 teaspoon of ground black pepper, a 1/4 teaspoon of ground cayenne pepper, and a 1/4 teaspoon of smoked paprika. So we're gonna just go ahead and, you know, mix that around in here. I'm gonna turn my heat down just a little bit also, with a medium low. smells so good. And then, you know, of course, you know, do a little taste test, and if you want to add a bit more salt, can, a bit more pepper, you know, but start small always when you're cooking, because once it's in there, it's not coming back out. All right, so heat's on low, and our final ingredient, maple syrup. Now, if you go and you read my blog post, okay, I explained how this happened. This recipe was actually a happy accident. So, all right, heat's on low. We're gonna add 2 tablespoons of maple syrup to our succotash. And give it a good stir. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and take it off the heat. Give a little taste test, see if we need to adjust anything. But other than that, our sweet and spicy succotash with maple and bacon is done. Okay, everybody, so here are the handful of ingredients I used to make this scrumptious chocolate pie. Okay, this is so easy. I know you guys are gonna love this recipe. All right, so we're gonna start off with a pie crust, okay? I have a store-bought pie crust here. You can make your own if you want to. You need enough pie crust dough for a 9-inch pie, okay? So we'll deal with this shortly, but for the pie filling, the chocolate pie filling, we're gonna need 3 cups of milk. I just have 1% milk here today. You're gonna need 1/2 cup of unsweetened cocoa powder, 3 tablespoons of salted butter, 1 cup of sugar, 1/3 cup of cornstarch, and 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla extract. Okay, we will be preparing the chocolate pie filling on the stovetop. It's basically a simple chocolate pudding. But first things first, we need to get this pie crust par baked. I have my oven preheated right now to 425 degrees. And so we're gonna go ahead and get this room temperature, store prepared pie crust into the pie plate and into the oven. So let's get started. Okay guys, so we're gonna take this store-bought pie crust and unroll it. Now, you know, you do have to let these go to room temperature, you know, for best results, because otherwise they tend to rip when you're, you know, kind of manipulating them. So this one is room temperature. I'm just gonna go ahead and kind of press it down and form it into the pie plate a little bit. If you know, you could actually lay this out and, you know, give it a little roll, you know, if you were so inclined. Okay, so kind of stretched the sides a little bit and pulled it along up to the rim of the pie plate. Made sure that it is against the bottom of the pie plate. And you can use pie weights or beans or, you know, anything like that when we're par baking this. If you have that available, I'm just gonna prick some holes in the bottom of the pie crust to kind of alleviate some of the puffiness that happens. And it'll be okay. All right, so now next thing, I'm gonna show you how I like to put a very basic, pretty scallop edge on my pies. Now, you're gonna take your 2 fingers here, you know, about a 1-inch gap between your fingers, and then just very lightly press the edge. Just like that. And you'll do it again, right next door. And then we'll go all the way around. And it gives it this nice, rustic little scallop that does hold up when you bake it. All right, I'm just gonna do this all the way around the edge, guys, and then we'll get the pie crust in the oven. All right, so there we go. Like I said, my oven is preheated to 425 degrees, and we're just gonna keep an eye on this, but it should be ready between 20 and 25 minutes, okay? We're just basically gonna be looking for the edges to be nice and golden brown. Okay, so our pie crust is par baked. It was 425 at 20 minutes was just perfect for this little pie crust. And so now I'm gonna let it cool here on a rack, and we're gonna head to the stovetop and start on our chocolate pie filling. Okay, y'all, so we are over at the stovetop. Here I have a large saucepan. We are gonna go ahead and combine our sugar and our 1/3 cup of cornstarch, and now our cocoa powder. And we're just gonna give it a really good mix. Okay, so it's looking really good. I did kind of take the front of my whisk, and if I saw any lumps of cocoa or cornstarch, you know, just kind of, you know, busted them up with the top of my whisk here. But all right, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and turn the heat on to medium for this burner and whisk in our first cup of milk. All right, so it takes a minute or two to kind of get it all incorporated, but just be patient and mix as well as you can. This is a very hands-on process, but it's a very fast process. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and add our second cup of milk. Just keep whisking. All right, y'all, so it's time for our final cup of milk. We're just gonna continue whisking, get it all nice and incorporated. It actually looks really good. And now we're just gonna wait for that heat to perk up a little bit. And, you know, do not walk away from this because it will scorch very easily. It should start boiling soon, and it will thicken up really, really fast. Okay, y'all, so I'm sure you could probably see that this chocolate pie filling is really thickening up now. So it's very much at nearly like a pudding-like consistency at the moment. So I'm just gonna whisk it constantly and let it simmer. I'm gonna turn the heat down just a little bit and let it continue to simmer for about 1 minute. And then we're gonna take it off the heat. Okay, y'all, so I just switched my pot over to, you know, the burner that's not screaming hot, and you can see how thick this consistency is. It smells fantastic. But all right, we're gonna go ahead and mix in our butter and let this melt down. All right, and last but not least, we're gonna go ahead and put in 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla extract. And then we are good to go with this luscious chocolate pie filling. And we're gonna put it in our prepared pie shell. So moment of proof here. It's time to put our luscious chocolate pie filling into our par baked pie shell. And we're just gonna spread it out as evenly as possible once we get all the chocolate mixture in the pie crust. It smells fantastic. Alrighty, y'all. So here is our scrumptious, delectable chocolate pie. It does need to cool way down. You can still see it's pretty jiggly, but it will set completely up, okay? So I'm gonna let it cool here on this rack for about half an hour. And then after it's cooled down for about half an hour, we're gonna cover the top with some plastic wrap or some parchment paper, whatever you've got on hand, and then we're gonna chill it for about 2 hours. So, all right, I'll check back in with you in about half an hour when it's cooled just a little bit more. Okay, y'all, so here I have just some plastic wrap, and I'm just gonna put it right on the surface, kind of gently let it lay down on the surface of the chocolate filling. And as this pie continues to cool, it will make sure the top of the pie filling doesn't get this like, you know, crustiness to it or get extra thick at the top. It will keep it nice and even and smooth. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and refrigerate this pie for a couple of hours. In this case, I'm filming this at night, so it'll refrigerate overnight and we'll be able to enjoy this tomorrow. Okay, so after the pie is cool tomorrow, we really like to top this pie with like a whipped topping, okay? Now, if I were gonna serve this pie to, you know, like put it out at a holiday party for many people to take slices and enjoy, honestly, I would take this tub of Cool Whip and spread it over the top and just have it covered with the Cool Whip. But you know, if I just made this during the week for us to enjoy for a few nights, I'm just going to spritz individual servings with prepared whipped cream. And of course you can use homemade whipped cream. The only thing is, if you are going to top the whole pie and have it covered in whipped cream to serve to the crowd, I do recommend you go with like a stabilized whipped cream or make a stabilized whipped cream, because it will, you know, just, this will break down once it's, you know, out and exposed out of the can or out of your mixing bowl. So just keep that in mind. But anyhow, you'll see pictures here shortly of a prepared pie, and yeah, but that's how we do it. So I hope you guys enjoy. I want to thank you all so much for being here and watching. Thank you for letting me share a few of our cherished family recipes with you in this video. We wish you all the best this holiday season, and from my family to yours, we want to wish you a very Merry Christmas. Take care out there, y'all.